All right, so I get this one a lot. Should I take out a 15-year mortgage or is a 30-year mortgage better? Now, when I'm talking about the 15 and the 30, I'm talking about fixed rates. So the 15 versus the 30, that's been debated for a long, long time. And people like Dave Ramsey, he says, don't even have a mortgage. Wait till you can pay for your house in cash. And that sounds good in theory, but it's not always practical. But worst case scenario, according to Dave Ramsey, he's not going to yell at you if you get a 15-year mortgage only. Now, others I've heard say, oh, no, the 30-year mortgage makes a lot more sense. All right, before we even tackle that question, let me give you my opinion on what you should consider before even contemplating a mortgage. So before contemplating a mortgage, you really should work towards having an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up. Now, this is going to make a lot more sense when we dive in to whether to have a 15 or a 30-year mortgage. Also, plan on limiting your monthly payment to no more than 25% of your take-home pay. Also, consider having a goal of being debt-free when approaching retirement, which includes not having a mortgage. All right, let's get into it. Let's first of all look at the differences between a 15-year fixed-rate mortgage and a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. So with a 15-year mortgage, guess what? It pays off the home quicker. That's kind of obvious, 15 versus 30. But you're going to be building equity quicker. You have a lower interest rate, usually around maybe 0.5% lower than the 30-year. And that means you'll have less overall interest payments. Now, with the 30-year mortgage, it takes longer to pay off, obviously. More of the payment goes towards the interest, especially in the beginning. And it has a higher interest rate. And when all is said and done, you're going to pay more in interest payments than the 15-year mortgage. All right, so when we look at those differences, it kind of seems obvious that you should choose the 15-year mortgage. But according to Chris Hogan, author of Everyday Millionaires, 90% of people choose the 30-year mortgage. So let's take a look at a mortgage calculator from bankrate.com for a real-life example. All right, so let's say, first of all, let's say you're in your 30s with a household income of, $80,000 a year. Now that's take-home pay. And let's also assume you are looking for a home that is in the $300,000 range. And you're planning on putting down 20% as a down payment. So by putting down that 20%, that means your loan's going to be $240,000. And let's just assume an interest rate of 3% on a 15-year mortgage. So what happens? The total payment would be $1,936 a month, and that's going to include taxes and insurance. Wait a minute. Remember when I said try to shoot for your total mortgage payment to be 25% or less of your total take-home pay? Well, that's more than 25%. 25% of your take-home pay in this example would be $1,667. So if you were really wanting a 15-year mortgage in this example, you're going to have to, look for a cheaper house to get that payment within your range of 25% of your take-home pay. So by looking for a lower priced home, say let's plug in $250,000 in this example. Then when we do that, your payments would be in line with 25% of your take-home pay at $1,661. But when we do that, when we lower the price of the home to try to fit it in your 15-year mortgage plan, and we got to lower the price, that could mean that you're going to have to look outside of the area that's in your desired location. So let's do this. Let's change this to a 30-year mortgage on that $300,000 home, and remember you're putting 20% down, but the interest rate's a little higher. Let's assume a rate of 3.5%. Look what happens to that monthly payment. It is now $1,356 per month, and that is in line with 25% of your take-home pay. So right away, one advantage that we see here with the 30-year mortgage is it gives you flexibility and it gives you more purchasing power. Let's look at another scenario. Let's say your income was higher, and now you could afford that 15-year mortgage payment, but you had the idea of, I'm going to take the 30-year and I'm going to invest that difference between the 30-year and the 15-year with the idea of letting that build up. Every month I'm just going to invest that difference, let it build up, and then pay off that mortgage early. Let's look at that example. All right, so when we invest that difference in this example, the difference is $580 a month. And let's say we're just going to invest it in an investment account, and we're just going to assume that it's going to earn 7% per year sitting in an investment account. Now, a simple online investment calculator reveals that in 14 years, hey, guess what? It's going to be worth $161,925.41. And then at that point, you just turn around and pay off the remaining balance of the mortgage, and thus you're paying it off in 14 years. However, there is a lot wrong with this example. Number one, we're assuming that you're going to earn 7% every single year. And guess what? That most likely is not going to happen. Also, hey, investments, as you know, they carry risk, and they can go up, they can go down, and there's even a risk of losing your principal. Number two, we didn't talk about taxes. So certain investments carry some form of tax burden. It depends on how it's invested. Also, it would take an extreme amount of discipline to invest that difference every single month, that $580 every single month for 14 years. That's a lot of discipline, and if you could do that, you may as well take out the 15-year mortgage. Now, you could treat your 30-year mortgage as a 15-year mortgage by making extra payments. Maybe in this example, that same difference of $580 that you saved between the 30 and the 15, if you just made that an extra payment every single month, you'd pay it off in roughly 15 years. However, you still would have paid more in interest. But at least, this is going to give you some flexibility when times are tough, or maybe there's a loss of a job or medical expenses. You never know what, life just happens. So this way you wouldn't be strapped with that higher 15-year mortgage monthly payment. So this is why I harp on having an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses to take care of these situations, when life happens. All right, so there are times where a 30-year fixed rate mortgage seems to make sense. In my opinion, I would say if you are, say, in your 20s or 30s, and maybe, you're starting a family, and cash flow at that point is very important. Listen, you could have student loans or child care costs or other expenses. So by having that lower monthly payment with a 30-year mortgage, it could give you some breathing room. And, as things progress, as your income increases, hey, that's when you can throw more money at that mortgage to get it paid down quicker. Another situation where a 30-year fixed rate mortgage may make sense is maybe you're in a job where you don't have predictable income, say something like in sales or commission only. And so your income is going to deviate from one month to the next. In a situation like that, having the 30-year fixed rate loan could give you some flexibility, to get you by during those lean months. But what if you're in your 40s and your 50s? Well, in your 40s and your 50s, these are considered your peak earning years, and you really should consider the 15-year mortgage. Now, there are really a lot of other things we didn't consider, like you got to take into consideration taxes, inflation is another one, home prices in your region. How long are you going to be in this home? That makes a difference too. Also, you may want to consider, hey, lowering your standards on the home price to get that payment more reasonable. So the bottom line to all this is try to get that home paid off as quickly as possible. You don't want debt going into retirement. That should be one of your goals. Now, if you'd like to see more videos like this discussing personal finance, hit that subscribe button below or just give me a call with any questions you have.